Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Rowe. And it is time for another Oscar retrospective. Cranking them out here, folks, cranking them out.
What else are you going to do?
Yeah, what else are we going to do? We are covering the 2007 Oscar ceremony featuring the films of 2006, where The Departed won Best Picture. And the reason that many of you wanted to see this race was not only because, you get glorious victories for Scorsese, but you also get a crazy Best Picture race. I mean, the Critics' Choice, BAFTA, Globes, and PGA all gave it to different things. Insane, crazy race.
Also, this is the year after Crash prevailed over Brokeback Mountain, so
That's right.
Every Oscar year feels different depending on what happened the year prior.
Before Crash, $1 Million Baby won, and that was a surprise upset.
They had a rough few years here.
A crazy, wacky few years where people didn't really know what was happening. But that's also what makes these years so much fun, so much fun. Babel wins the Globe. Not Departed?
Yep.
The Globes love Marty. They love Marty. So
It would have been sort of like how The Revenant just won. I mean, it felt the same as when 1917 won. It felt that way. It was like, what?
Let's not forget the Bohemian Rhapsody, which, like Babel, is its only major actual Best Picture win.
They did give Babel 7 nominations, as you said.
They did give
so
Babel 7
people were
nominations.
probably anticipating that. Having just watched it, it is a very friendly Oscar film in a way.
Sure is.
It's got all those hallmarks, and also Crash, having won the year before that, it's a similar movie in the story structure. They're telling multiple storylines. Much better. Did it much better than Crash.
I like to call Babel good Crash.
Crash is bad Crash.
Yeah.
Babel is good Crash.
It got 7 nominations at the Golden Globes.
Again, keep your hands away from me. I tell you this every time, just don't like that in my face. Not learning your lesson, so I have to keep teaching you the lesson. Comes out in physical violence.
7 Golden Globe nominations.
There you go, over there.
7 BAFTA nominations. 7 Critics' Choice nominations and 7 Oscar nominations. The movie of 7. The movie of 7.
In 2007.
There you go. The Queen was the winner at the BAFTAs, but that's obviously the most British movie ever made.
Yeah.
Because it's about royalty. It's about a recent event that everybody remembers. I mean, that movie got 10 BAFTA nominations. This movie is a 91 on Metacritic, and I saw that it was compiled at number 2 on the most critics top 10s, which is kind of insane to me.
No one's thinking about this film in terms of best of decade. There's just nobody.
No, because it's just such a slight movie. Some people might be more connected to the royalty and all that stuff.
They just resonate with seeing rich people who have to make decisions that
Tiny,
from the comfort of their own palace.
It is not really my favorite of these. Is my least favorite of the nominees. If you love the Queen, go have fun, and I'm sure you have that movie on DVD and you like looking at Helen Mirren on the cover, and you can just go pop it on.
I don't even think people pop it in. I think they just have it on DVD. That's the kind of movie it is. It just sits on your shelf on DVD, and you're like, Helen Mirren was good in that movie.
Little Miss Sunshine wins PGA. Now at this point, Babel wins Globes. Departed has won Critics' Choice. And Little Miss Sunshine wins PGA. No one knows what's happening. Nobody knows what's happening.
Insane.
I don't know if this was a surprise because I know that people loved the movie.
There was sensing a groundswell.
Absolutely a groundswell. I mean, it cost $8 million to make. It came out at Sundance, and it made $100 million at the box office. It came out in July. It was a summer movie. Who doesn't like Little Miss Sunshine? Who doesn't like
also, it didn't get those early directors, but then it got DGA. And so that kind of primes it for that. And then also, when you have that hype for SAG Ensemble, people really start getting behind you for picture. Maybe it's picture, maybe it's Crash.
The PGA is the biggest award to win. It's the one that you're that won PGA, then that means it might win Best Picture.
Yep.
Little Miss Sunshine is the emotional crowd pleaser that they like to see. It makes your heart go yay. It makes your mouth go ha-ha. It can make your brain think a little bit too. It's a very broadly appealing movie.
It's impossible not to love the movie. Fun characters, a good message.
It makes you rejoice in being a loser, which I think is really brilliant.
Even the assholes in the audience are I'm the loser too. I can relate with that.
I wonder what happens if you're actually a winner though, and you see this movie and you're I've never lost things. I win everything.
Yeah, you're Gary Vaynerchuk, and you're this isn't me. I don't see myself in these people. I'm always a winner. I just always win. I wouldn't be on my ass. I wouldn't be sitting on my ass. I'd be out there grinding and hustling.
There's a track record of these kind of movies winning. Crash and $1 Million Baby in the prior years won because they had people's hearts. Did anyone cry at The Departed?
But The Departed, it doesn't have that same appeal, but it's great on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
The craft, the acting, the clever like maze of a story. I feel like the plot is just very like in depth. The Departed is like a really entertaining, engaging, thrilling crime drama.
I mean, look, it has an 8.5 on IMDb. It's, you know, one of Scorsese's best in some ways. I don't know if that means top 5 because he has so many great movies, but like, it's really freaking good. The whole thing that year was like, this is Marty's time to get an Oscar. Like, we all knew he was getting Best Director. That wasn't even disputed. Could the Oscars go overboard and like really make it The Departed's year, Scorsese's year? That narrative was really strong. The prior years, like that same decade, Gangs of New York and The Aviator, major Oscar contenders, double-digit nominations. Aviator, the Critics' Choice gave him Best Director. Gangs of New York, the Golden Globes gave him Best Director. Like, most other awards bodies had given Scorsese awards, but the Oscars were really yet to do this. According to the compilation I saw, this was the #1 movie, like, when you compile critics' top 10s. It's the highest rated movie that year on IMDb. It was loved across the board. So it makes sense that this movie won Best Picture, even though, you know, maybe Little Miss Sunshine tugs at your heartstrings in a way that The Departed doesn't. Also interesting that this movie didn't hit festivals even though it came out in October. Like, that's kind of unheard of now. They were kind of just focusing on it commercially, but then it came out and they were like, we're going to nominate, like, DiCaprio and Nicholson and shit, right? It's better than Gangs of New York and The Aviator. Can we give him the awards?
When you give someone Best Director but not Best Picture, it's a little bit of a slap in the face. A little bit. So, you know, this year they didn't slap him in the face. They gave him Best Picture and Director. And both of these are really well deserved. I mean, I liked a lot of the films in this category. And The Departed was just as good as any of them.
And The Departed won just Critics' Choice before taking Best Picture. We've seen this with Spotlight, haven't we? You know, some people say, oh, you think the Critics' Choice you think they're so important. This is why they're important. Where did Bong Joon win Best Director? Oh, I wonder. He won at the Critics' Choice. Going into the race, The Departed and Little Miss Sunshine were considered sort of neck and neck. I saw a betting odds website that said that one was ahead. I saw one that said the other was ahead. People were all over the place. It was a close race up to the end. Ultimately, you know, both were going to win the Screenplay Award. The Departed, editing and director. I guess that makes it kind of stronger then, doesn't it?
Director, editing. If you're going to win Screenplay and director, because it had no competition in Screenplay or really director.
And editing.
Babel could have won editing.
Yeah. But then also, Little Miss Sunshine wasn't even nominated for director and editing. So
you do the math and it just comes out ahead, but only by a hair. It would have been a heart-racing Oscar race.
I mean, I can't say what I would have predicted. Like, I just don't know. And then we have Letters from Iwo Jima, which, of course, was the surprise nominee.
The film's a companion piece to the American film Flags of Our Fathers. You know, it's an interesting project for Eastwood to do 2 films back to back and then tell the Japanese side of the same story. Like, Americans are not used to having their war tales told to them from the opposite side. You know, it's almost like counter to what it like is supposed to mean to be an American. You're just supposed to kind of blindly like rah with your country, and when you go to war, like, they teach you that the other side is not human. It's a really good film. I actually just watched it like an hour ago. It's very intimate and touching, and it does a good job at showing like the horrors of war. Probably the best thing about it is it sort of has like moral ambiguity. It's very unclear who the heroes are. I definitely tip my hat to Eastwood on this one.
There was a lot of hat tipping to Eastwood going on at this stage of his career. I mean, $1 Million Baby just won, and Mystic River was like another huge contender before that. Letters from Iwo Jima only got Critics' Choice. Like, it didn't get BGA.
And at the Critics' Choice, it only got Picture Director.
While it did actually make more money than Flags of Our Fathers, it made less than half as much money within the U.S. It only made $13 million domestically.
That's like weaker than The Farewell. I mean, at the time, maybe it was similar with inflation, but yeah, that's like an indie film.
For that reason, like, people that weren't expecting it.
And also, let's face it, Eastwood is the reason Letters from Iwo Jima gets nominated. Is because
they love him.
You know, they love him. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
If there was no name behind that movie, you know, it wouldn't have a chance. All these are pretty worthy nominees. Like, I am curious to see if there's anything else I would have put in here.
Oh, there are things that I would put in here over a couple of these.
Well, over The Queen.
Over The Queen, mainly. But Dreamgirls was the headline snub. Dreamgirls, not fucking nominated. That was the headline everywhere. It even beat Little Miss Sunshine at the Golden Globes in comedy, because they just love their musicals.
Damn.
Now, wow. Dreamgirls was a show-stopping musical that tried to replicate all the thrills of Broadway. You have fun performances, big songs. It's kind of a conventional movie. It's
A giant ensemble.
2 performances that went into the ceremony expecting to win. PGA, DGA, like, it was expected to get these major nominations the entire year. The studio was hyping this movie up as being a massive Oscar contender. People could look back to Chicago a few years ago and say, well, like, that's what Dreamgirls is going to be, isn't it? Dreamgirls got 8 nominations, the most nominations of the pack. 3 were songs, sure, but this still makes it the only movie to lead in the amount of nominations that's not in Best Picture. Part of it was because, like, Babel got 7, The Queen got 6, Departed 5, Little Miss Sunshine 4. I mean, those are pretty weak numbers for Best Picture nominees.
And a lot of the Best Picture nominees for the same reason. Like, there were no Best Picture nominees touching the Best Actor category or the Best Cinematography category. Like, there's just some weird stuff that happened this year like that.
Yeah, and the Best Actor category not touching any nominees was like, this was the only time that ever happened since like 1929, like the first
Yeah,
fucking
it's
ceremony.
super rare. Like, that might not ever happen again.
Now, if there were 10 nominees, I think United 93 would have been like in there.
Because it got director and editing.
It was nominated at the Critics' Choice. It got like no Golden Globe nominations, which kind of sucks. Like, why?
Sad.
But
But this movie came out when? April?
Yeah, it came out in April, so it's
Yeah.
really early. This also came out the same year as World Trade Center.
United 93 is like a pure movie where it's not like trying to impart any sort of like thing onto that event. You know, this is a great film from this year. It's one of those movies that you don't want to watch. I think people were a little bit like, I don't want to watch this movie, because it's understandable if you chose not to see this film. It's not surprising this wasn't in Best Picture, but was it one of the best films of the year? And like, did critics think so? Like, definitely. If I were to pick a film that I think is like the best, it's probably United 93.
That or Little Miss Sunshine, I would say. I mean, The Departed's like close. Like, I don't have a problem with The Departed winning. Like, that's a really good Best Picture winner. Little Children got a Golden Globe drama nomination and a Critics' Choice nomination, so that kind of puts it like at maybe a number 8. Was nominated in acting and screenplay categories. It's like a little strange, but I can see why it would make sense to awards voters, because it's like that sort of suburban, like American Beauty thing.
It like tells you that it's boring and
Yeah,
that there should be more.
Blood Diamond surprised and got more nominations at the Oscars than it did anywhere else. Sure, it got 2 sound. It got lead actor, supporting actor, and best editing. It wasn't a giant hit with the critics, but IMDb loves this movie. Like, audiences were thrilled by it. It had performances. I feel like that maybe could have been the 9th, just because it seemed to be doing like above expectations. Notes on a Scandal got screenplay, actress nominations, and a score nomination.
Again, like a lot of winners that didn't get nominated for Best Picture, but we're still kind of winners.
We're all winners. That's nice of you to say.
Thank you. They have lots of bones to lots of different movies. They spread the wealth.
Surprisingly, The Last King of Scotland was nominated at BAFTA, which is kind of crazy because, like, they gave United 93 Best Director. They couldn't give that a nomination. And then the Golden Globes nominate Bobby, which is kind of viewed as, like, a joke for them to do. What isn't here that seems like it very damn well should be here? Pan's Labyrinth.
Even a Critics' Choice?
Nope. No one knows why.
Did it get director anywhere?
Nope. We don't know why this is.
But it got a lot of below-the-line stuff.
It did. It got a lot of below-the-line stuff, and it even got screenplay. Cinematography win. And it was also, like, obviously one of the best and most original, creative, inventive movies of the year. I don't know why Del Toro didn't get director nominations. I feel like if there were 9 or 10, it could have maybe still snuck in there. And then Children of Men, like, not nominated anywhere either.
But
or
for
director?
director?
No.
That's
not at the
surprising.
major ones. All of it was concentrated behind Lubezki's cinematography. If Pan's Labyrinth came out today, I feel like they would have nominated it. Maybe
Yeah, me
because
too.
Del Toro's reputation, but then again, this is where his reputation comes from.
Yeah, I mean, it had a 98 on Metacritic. Also notable is that all the 3 Amigos had films this year.
That's true.
Del Toro, Iñárritu, Cuarón. The 3 Amigos, as they're known.
And now they're all Oscar winners.
They took up half of the slots of the Oscar wins this last decade. 5 out of 10.
Director. As we said, this was Scorsese's, like, no questions asked. The Oscars owed him big time, and he finally wins. It's a glorious victory, massive standing ovation, and he wins for a movie that's truly deserved. You know, it wouldn't have been as nice if he won for The Aviator, Gangs of New York. It would have felt like they're giving it to him to give it to him. While it was a career achievement award, The Departed was considered by many to be his best since Goodfellas. And it was so expected to win that they actually had George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and Francis Ford Coppola presenting the director award. Like, why do you think they did that? They did that because you look at that bunch and you think, who's missing? And you go, he's in the audience. We got to bring him up on stage so he can join his buddies and have a good time. And that's exactly what they did.
And rumor has it they all went out to a bar, Irish pub after and had a beer.
Can you imagine if he lost Best Director? Like, what would
Who would have won? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Alejandro Iñárritu. Little Miss Sunshine wasn't even nominated for director.
And the only place that Scorsese didn't win was at the BAFTAs, where Paul Greengrass surprises and wins for United 93, which wasn't even nominated in picture. But Paul Greengrass, he's a British guy. That's
That's a great choice. And kind of like, we may not be recommending that you watch this movie because it's kind of doesn't make you feel good. It's really sad. But the craft on hand here, we just can't deny that.
Now, the only other movie that got nominated everywhere, and this is surprising, it truly is surprising, was Stephen Frears for The Queen. What about the directing, except for like his obvious like respect and appreciation for like the monarchy, is substantial here? Like, it was
probably that. I mean, probably they just like that he captured the whole like culture,
especially in a year where you have like Cuarón and Del Toro doing like really groundbreaking stuff. I don't know. His direction felt like sort of average.
Well, you would have put the Little Miss Sunshine directors in here too. The directing of the performances is really like where that movie, like it had a great energy to it. So there's no reason for it not to be in director. But again, they like the flashy stuff.
Iñárritu for Babel, I think, is a really good nomination because that was, an ambitious undertaking, shot in a lot of countries, shot in 5 languages if you include sign language. I know a lot of people feel really mixed about it, but like to me, it came together really well. Iñárritu also actually won Best Director at Cannes when that film premiered. Although somehow the Critics' Choice overlooked him. This lineup would have been really hard to predict. I'm not sure if you would have predicted Paul Greengrass to get nominated because Bill Condon was like really expected to get in for Dreamgirls.
Well, just because Paul Greengrass, he wasn't nominated for DGA.
Eastwood gets nominated for Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima at the Golden Globes. This is weird.
That's really weird.
Why do they do this? Flags of Our Fathers was definitely considered the lesser movie. Like,
and they could have nominated that in picture if they wanted to over that random like Bobby Kennedy film.
There were so many good director contenders this year. It's just like, why give Eastwood 2 slots? Like, give him one for Iwo Jima and call it a fucking night. Little Miss Sunshine not getting in for director is probably pretty big since that was considered like one of the front runners. Reminds me of 3 Billboards.
I mean, aside from Iwo Jima winning a lot of foreign film awards, the only way that it stood out from Flags of Our Fathers in terms of what it got was Critics' Choice. Picture and director.
Best actor. Forrest Whitaker wins for Last King of Scotland, and this was like really, really obvious. I mean, it was a clean ass sweep. His performance was so good in the movie that nobody would deny it, nobody would question it. Like, it was just his to win. Had Whitaker not won, Peter O'Toole probably would have gotten an Oscar for Venus. Sort of a Glenn Close and the Wife thing, if you can imagine. One of the biggest examples of an actor who just hasn't won an Oscar. He got an honorary Oscar, but, that's not good enough as an Academy. He's been overdue since Lawrence of Arabia when he lost to Gregory Peck. Although, what are you going to do about that?
If those two weren't contending, I think Will Smith might have had this one for Pursuit of Happiness.
Perhaps.
Because he did a lot in that movie. I mean, I remember his performance in that. He was in the film a while ago, and he does a lot of crying. You can really relate to his character and his struggle for the American dream and all that.
And Ryan Gosling's nomination for Half Nelson was just purely because he was great. There's no other reason to nominate him. Like, he wasn't in a big Oscar movie. He was just praised to no end. Why wasn't DiCaprio nominated for The Departed? A couple things here. The Oscars have a rule that you cannot be nominated, same actor, same category. You can do lead and supporting. So what actually happened is that Warner Brothers tried to campaign him in lead for Blood Diamond and supporting in The Departed, and it didn't fucking work out. Even though it worked out at the SAGs. The SAGs nominated him in both those categories, where they have the same rule. He was nominated in lead category for both films, though, at the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice, and the BAFTA was the only one who didn't nominate him for Blood Diamond, but he was still nominated for The Departed. DiCaprio was nominated everywhere for The Departed.
So you think like, oh, he's such a lock. If he's capable of getting nominated in lead, and he gets nominated everywhere you campaign him, of course he's getting nominated in supporting actor.
But here's the thing. I don't think it was well known that he was being campaigned in supporting. Like, people were still in nomination mourning, like, oh, he's not in lead for The Departed. If Blood Diamond didn't exist, DiCaprio would have been nominated for this movie. That's the bottom line.
Probably.
I haven't seen Blood Diamond, but I think that most agree that The Departed is the performance that they would have rather seen him nominated for. And he was really good in that movie. It's definitely his best performance.
This is like, he gets screwed out of a nomination here. You know, and he also got screwed out of a nomination for Django because Christoph Waltz like somehow overshadowed him.
True. Other than that, there weren't really any serious contenders. Sacha Baron Cohen in Borat won the Golden Globe comedy. I think there was like a possibility that he could get nominated for the Oscar for this.
That would be like awarding a very different thing.
Yeah, which they don't really do.
They're awarding like a comedian for doing great comedic work rather than like doing a performance of a script, you know? Even though, speaking of script, they nominated Borat for screenplay.
The BAFTAs were the odd ones out. They only went 2 out of 5 on this top 5, and they made room for Daniel Craig in Casino Royale. What is that? That's weird. They loved Casino Royale, and they gave it 9 nominations. The Oscars gave it nothing. Best Actress, Helen Mirren, wins for The Queen. Interestingly, The Queen and The King win Best Actor and Best Actress, and they were both written by Peter Morgan.
These acting categories, lead acting categories, were really easy to predict. I mean, Helen Mirren was a lock. Forrest Whitaker
big time.
was a lock.
The Helen Mirren, time to get the Oscar, flawless portrayal of the Queen.
It seems like the kind of thing that people would have been predicting since January. I mean, she was completely unchallenged, right? There's nobody who would have won if not her.
Who would have won?
Who would have won?
Meryl Streep for the comedy, like Judi Dench. Really, no competition here. The win was predictable. The nominations were like even more predictable because these 5 were nominated everywhere. I couldn't believe my eyes when I was looking this up. 5 everywhere.
Yeah, that's like unprecedented. They're just nominated the same everywhere.
The only outliers you have are at the Golden Globes just because they split up their categories. Actually, this category is also just filled with like Oscar favorites. Everybody here has been nominated multiple times. Kate Winslet had nominations, like Judi Dench, like supporting actor.
Shit show.
The biggest upset of the night, I'm sure.
Yeah. Probably maybe of the decade in that category.
That decade?
In that category.
Perhaps. Alan Arkin wins for Little Miss Sunshine. It's a great performance. It's a fine performance. Alan Arkin seems to be very comfortable playing this type of character, and he's really good in it. His screen time is some of the lowest that you'll find in nominees in this category.
When his screen time is up in this film, I was like, wait, he won an Oscar for that? Like, he didn't go through a character. He was just funny. He was a funny guy. He wasn't even the best performance in the movie, in my opinion. Nomination, I get. Winning the Oscar, I don't get. Especially because there's another man here that did a lot, and didn't win. And why? I don't know why he didn't win for it. Because he won at Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and SAG. The only place that Alan Arkin won, only other place, was BAFTA.
Where Eddie Murphy wasn't nominated somehow.
Oh, okay. So if they did nominate him, they might have given it to him
Yeah,
anyway.
so you couldn't even look at the BAFTA and say, well, Alan Arkin, because Eddie Murphy wasn't nominated. It was weird.
Like Regina King wasn't nominated for the BAFTA for If Beale Street Could Talk, but like she was still going to win the Oscar, you know? Nobody really saw this coming. And Eddie Murphy walked out when he didn't win.
Yeah, he left. He lost and then left. And he rage quit the Oscars.
It's very sad.
It makes you look like kind of a sore loser and everything, but you know the nation probably felt that a little bit.
Yeah, I think people would have felt that.
Eddie Murphy was singing. He was really charismatic.
And it's also like, when else can you give him an Oscar if you appreciated this film?
It was obviously like a career award too. Alan Arkin, though, it was probably sort of a career award as well.
Definitely a career award,
He was nominated twice in the 60s. And this was his first nomination since then, which is like
I see.
Almost 40
all the
years.
old people are like really happy that he's returning, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's true. Like Eddie Murphy, really well respected as a comedian and a performer. And this movie, he was doing like all that you need to do to get an Oscar. Jimon Hansu's nomination for Blood Diamond is kind of interesting because, again, I haven't seen that movie, so I can't necessarily speak to it, but it seems that he was really, really good and powerful in that film. But this was also his second nomination. He got nominated that same decade for In America. And for an actor who's like born in Africa, that's pretty interesting that you get nominated like twice. You know,
because you have an accent. It's hard to overcome. Like Barkat Abdi, like we haven't seen him since Captain Phillips.
This category looks nothing like the actress category where everybody's nominated everywhere. There's a lot of gaps. Nobody got nominated everywhere, not even Arkin, who missed a Golden Globe nomination. Eddie Murphy misses BAFTA. 2 of these nominees were only nominated at one major precursor, Jackie Earle Haley in Little Children, who was very good, but not necessarily expected. And then we come to the Departed question, where you had DiCaprio and Nicholson and Wahlberg in this category, and only one gets nominated, and it's Wahlberg. It doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense.
And
especially...
Wahlberg only got the Golden Globe. Jack Nicholson got everything except for SAG. This is a fucking outrage, honestly.
It's
like,
disgusting.
When I saw The Departed, I was like, okay, Jack Nicholson, if this movie came out now, I'd be like, he could win. He's just excellent in the movie. I don't know how he didn't get nominated. The only thing I can think of is because they just didn't know who to pick. They had, a yellow apple, an orange apple, and a green apple, and they got too overwhelmed and they didn't pick anybody.
No, they picked the yellow apple.
Yeah, I don't know why they picked the yellow apple. Wahlberg is funny in the film. He's very good in it. He's like barely worthy of a nomination though, and compared to the other people that were in the category, they are just better on him.
He's simply the 4th best in the movie. There's no question about it. I don't know if maybe they were like, oh, he already has 3 Oscars. Like, we don't want to risk giving him another one.
It makes no sense. Like, it literally doesn't make any sense.
My brain does, as we all do, we see something weird and we try to justify it. But, maybe sometimes you have to accept that the world is just, there's no justifications for things like this.
Unfortunately, it would seem that way.
Brad Pitt for Babel. I would have thought that he would have been nominated for this movie based on just seeing him, and he's really good in it. But he only gets Golden Globe.
I kind of thought it makes sense for him to get nominated, like pluck him out of the ensemble and give him that supporting actor campaign.
Yeah, for sure.
But I also kind of get if it's not the performance that like sticks in your memory.
Michael Sheen in The Queen was sort of an outside shot. He got a BAFTA nomination, like, of course, kind of. But he was also kind of a co-lead. He was really in it a lot. He didn't really cry and scream. I think that's the thing, though. He didn't cry and scream. Ben Affleck gets 2 acting nominations, something you don't really see anymore, for Hollywoodland at Golden Globe and Critics' Choice. And James McAvoy also, like, big category fraud here. Like, he was the lead in that movie, and they campaigned him in supporting actress. Jennifer Hudson for Dreamgirls. Also, a clean sweep. You couldn't deny that this was going to be a winner.
And she was like the lead in the movie. She would have been the lead out of the whole ensemble. But
it's not even like that. Like, she was just the lead. Like, yeah, it's an ensemble piece, and yeah, she's not in every scene.
How are they allowed to do this?
This role at the Tonys was Best Actress. And somehow they got away with putting her in supporting, and this is why they get away with these sort of crimes, is because they can, and they win for it. If you put a lead actress in supporting who's really good, you'll win. This was a great victory because she actually had a big snub herself on American Idol. Her exit on one of the earlier seasons, where she was, I think, 7th, despite being like the most popular contestant, probably considered one of the great upsets of American Idol. This was also her acting debut, and she won. And her voice in the movie is gargantuan, so powerful. You can't deny giving her the Oscar. Like, she deserved it for this movie. She's going for another one, too, with Respect, isn't she?
And she tried in Cats, but...
She tried really hard in Cats. Yeah. Kate Blanchett, Notes on a Scandal, nominated almost everywhere. The 2 Babel women nominated, all at the same place. They both were snubbed at the BAFTAs for some reason.
Both those performances were excellent. And my favorite performance from... Babel and maybe this category is Rinko Kikuchi. The way that she did sign language was like, I totally bought it because the way that people actually speak and the way they actually emote in sign language is often more than you'd think, or it's very unique, and I feel like she captured that really well.
But I thought Adriana Barraza was like the best performance in Babel to me. So there you have it. Like, that's how it happens. Abigail Breslin gets nominated for Little Miss Sunshine. She's just absolutely perfect. She was like 8 years old when she gave this performance or something. She only gets those later awards. In the beginning, you're probably like, where are the people from Little Miss Sunshine? They're not appearing. They could have nominated Toni Collette. Toni Collette doesn't really like have a thing or a scene. She's just generally very good in it.
Yeah.
Toni Collette actually shared a BAFTA nomination with Abigail Breslin for Little Miss Sunshine. She also was nominated in Golden Globe for Comedy Lead Actress. So she had a couple nominations going for her. She could have appeared in this category. Emily Blunt got nominated for Devil Wears Prada at Golden Globe and BAFTA, which she's really good in. She's like a standout, but that's a comedy, so that's always an uphill battle. Original screenplay went to Little Miss Sunshine. It's lovable, it's funny, and it's no surprise that it won.
And it's not afraid to like tell you what its message is, you know? Babel is the other film here that I could have seen winning. If it weren't for Little Miss Sunshine, I think that would have won.
No, maybe The Queen, though, because that won the Golden Globe. And weirdly enough, and I don't understand this, Little Miss Sunshine didn't get a Golden Globe nomination for screenplay. Pan's Labyrinth only got the BAFTA, and Letters from Iwo Jima really didn't get a lot of screenplay nominations.
Letters from Iwo Jima picked up one screenplay nomination outside of the Oscar at Chicago Film Critics. The film wasn't expected to get in, but she really wasn't expected, even if it was going to get in, to get a screenplay nomination. This one's probably the biggest surprise of the bunch. And it was smart for them to give the script to an actual Japanese person. That's pretty obvious, but we don't even get that all the time. And then United 93, I would have been predicting that probably, since it got WGA BAFTA. And it kind of has an interesting story behind the writing, which is that they're trying to keep it based in things that were real, like conversations they knew people had. So that's sort of a snub there. I mean, Stranger Than Fiction's like a good comedy drama script that is like a meta writing thing. So that kind of makes sense that like WGA and Critics' Choice nominated that one.
Adapted screenplay, The Departed won. And what I'm seeing is that it only won the WGA. Critics' Choice and Golden Globes categories were combined, so that went to original screenplays. I think it was definitely predicted to win because it's the only Best Picture nominee in the category.
And winning WGA is like enough.
I mean, that screenplay had like really witty dialogue, all the plot shit, like the storylines intersecting and coming together was really clever. Borat is a really interesting nomination here because that was probably a lot of improv. And you would think maybe the voters in this category would think, well, that's not really, that's a great movie, but is it really a screenplay movie?
I think there was a screenplay to it. It was just situational.
And you get to nominate, like, Sacha Baron Cohen for an Oscar. Like, you get to nominate the man who did it, who people were calling a comedic genius for this film. Borat getting an Oscar nomination is nice. And Children of Men getting nominated is very surprising.
And it won USC Scripter, which is weird.
You don't really think of it as a writing movie because you think of it purely technicals, which is where it was competing at most awards.
I would guess there's just not a lot of competition in this category.
You would definitely think The Devil Wears Prada would get in.
Yeah, that's true.
Which got WGA and BAFTA. Last King of Scotland even got BAFTA and USC. It won BAFTA. Cinematography. This was an upset. This was a big upset of that night. Is it bad that Pan's Labyrinth won Best Cinematography? No. Pan's Labyrinth was really good looking, but who was supposed to get their first Oscar? Emmanuel Lubezki. This doesn't sting too bad because he has 3 now. He has 3 that he won 3 years in a row. I mean, it was groundbreaking stuff. The long takes, the fucking car shot, the fact that it didn't win and yet it won ASC and BAFTA. It was shocking. Everybody was predicting it to win this. Like, this would have been a really good award for it to win. It obviously wasn't competing for much else. Again, none of these movies were Best Picture nominees. The Illusionist and The Prestige, magician movies. A good bone thrown to The Prestige, which was generally overlooked. Kind of unfortunate they didn't nominate United 93. Babel might have also deserved it.
I would have been predicting Apocalypto to get in here, though, over The Prestige because it got an ASC. And also, like, it makes sense they would have nominated that.
Pan's Labyrinth didn't even get an ASC nomination. What is that?
So editing, you had The Departed win. If you watch the movie, you're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The editing is phenomenal. It's so quick. But the runner-up here, you have Babel, which is juggling 4 storylines. Also very well edited. A lot of really poetic scenes with no dialogue at all that are just put together masterfully. So you had, 2 great achievements in editing, I'd say, this year. The Departed and Babel tied for the Eddie Award, which is very interesting. Must have been, a down-to-the-line race. But The Departed winning Best Picture kind of makes that have the edge. United 93 won the BAFTA for editing. Interesting that it wins the BAFTAs that it eventually gets nominated for at the Oscars. Children of Men, interesting because it was done in long takes. And Blood Diamond. So a lot of these are not Best Picture nominees. There's only 2 in here.
This is the cutting
And what would you have expected here? Again, Dreamgirls and Little Miss Sunshine.
The Queen.
Which were both snubbed for director and editing.
Casino Royale got ACE and BAFTA.
It's a pretty nuts editing lineup.
And then Blood Diamond feels like it makes sense because it is a thriller. But again, the Oscars nominated that where no one else did. The editing in United 93 is like absolutely fucking superb too. Yeah. So no nominations for Letters from Iwo Jima on editing. You'd really
That's kind of interesting because it's
a fucking war movie. Production design, Pan's Labyrinth wins. It was considered the front runner. The BAFTA went to Children of Men. Why the hell wasn't Children of Men nominated here? The 6-minute shot is an achievement in cinematography, absolutely. But, like, where is he running through? Like, look around you. Gargantuan set, like, you don't even know how they did it. And the whole, like, near future dystopia.
That's a major,
the world
major
building.
snub. Again, like, the nominations they gave Children of Men versus didn't give, like, barely made sense. Like, you don't give it director.
You don't give it sound.
Yeah, oh, God. Don't even.
Costume design, Marie Antoinette wins. It didn't have prior wins, but you can't deny the sheer size of the costumes. They were the biggest and most colorful, and there were a lot of people wearing them and probably going to the ballroom to dance with them. The Devil Wears Prada is kind of an interesting choice. I mean, it makes sense. It's a movie about costumes, but then again, it's a comedy. Pan's Labyrinth won Costume Designers Guild and BAFTA, but it wasn't nominated for the Oscar. It wasn't nominated.
Well, that would have been the front runner if it was, and maybe it would have won if it was nominated.
The most impressive costumes are kind of like the fawn and the other creatures, which are like, is that makeup? Like, we don't know. Original score goes to Babel, which is the same composer.
I didn't know that won.
Same composer as Brokeback Mountain. He wins 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row. And he wasn't even supposed to win for Brokeback Mountain. He was only like half expected to win for this movie. So
Babel does have really good music, but you're also saying it's combined with non-original music in a kind of a seamless way, where today you'd expect them to disqualify it for that. And sometimes the music is very minimal.
There's that song towards the end, which was composed by Ryuichi Sakamoto in like the 90s. You'd think that that would be a sort of, oh, they used Max Richter in Arrival. The voters are going to think this is part of the original score, and they're going to nominate it. Like,
Which they probably did. Like, I thought that.
Here's another nomination for Pan's Labyrinth that wasn't necessarily expected, but totally deserved.
The two other places that give this award, Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, the films that won at those respective bodies did not get nominated at the Academy Awards.
The Critics' Choice give it to The Illusionist, which is composed by Philip Glass. The Oscars nominate the other film composed by Philip Glass. The Golden Globes give it to The Painted Veil, composed by Desplat. The Oscars nominate the other film composed by Desplat. You see? This was actually Desplat's first nomination. One of, like, many. He gets nominated almost every year now. The Fountain's a really notable snub. The Fountain is an incredible score. Say what you will about the movie. Original song went to Inconvenient Truth, and that also won documentary.
Really? Dreamgirls didn't win this?
You would think the Dreamgirls would win.
Having
Absolutely,
3 songs?
Not even the Golden Globes, who loved Dreamgirls and gave it lots of nominations, they didn't nominate multiple songs. For the Sound Awards, Dreamgirls takes sound mixing. I'm surprised Babel didn't get nominated for sound mixing. That's pretty disappointing, because sound mixing Babel is pretty superb.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting that Babel wasn't nominated for sound mixing.
And Children of Men. Why not? Why not? Sound editing went to Letters from Iwo Jima, which weirdly was not nominated for sound mixing, even though Flags of Our Fathers was nominated for both.
Yeah, sort of a snub.
Visual effects went to Pirates of the Caribbean. Widely expected to win. Not really much to say about that. Foreign language film, The Lives of Others.
That's a
huge fucking surprise. It's a huge fucking surprise. Why would you think that the film that is nominated for just foreign is going to win, when Pan's Labyrinth has 6 nominations total, including screenplay?
Damn. It was just considered like, of course this is going to win foreign film. So it's a giant upset.
Apparently, The Lives of Others had this late rise, where it was being seen and discussed sort of after the nomination, which makes you think, like, if it had that sort of buzz that led to its win, maybe that could have gotten a screenplay nomination. It probably should have gotten a screenplay nomination. And then Letters from Iwo Jima actually won at Globes and Critics' Choice, because their rule is that if it's not in English, whereas the Oscars, it has to be submitted from said country. And Apocalypto was sort of the same thing, because that was like a Mel Gibson movie, but because it was in a different language, it was nominated for foreign film pretty much everywhere else.
This is why it's a good thing the Academy Awards don't just go by the foreign language requirement, because it's just too easy for a film that already has a leg up because it has an American director to get nominated for foreign film.
Why wasn't Volver nominated? It was submitted. It was nominated everywhere else. It got a Best Actress nomination, and Pedro Almodovar, by this point in time, is an Academy Award winner and a Best Director nominee for his last film that was at the Oscars. I don't know why this wasn't nominated. It's just baffling to me. It made the shortlist, too.
That's odd.
Animated feature. Here's a big upset. Happy Feet beats Cars.
But no one's
Fine.
really upset at that.
Yeah, I don't think that this would be upsetting. I just think that the whole thing was that Pixar was thought to have a total monopoly on this category.
Yeah. Annie, PGA, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe.
Cars was just like, oh, it's going to win because it's Pixar. That's it. There's nothing else to it. You can't let Pixar get away with an Oscar every time. And Monster House, I like that Monster House was nominated. I like that. That's funny.
Yeah, it's great.
Makeup, Pan's Labyrinth, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Click was nominated. Why? Because aging? I guess they
Probably
had
some sort of aging.
Yeah, it's a time travel remote.
He probably
so
fast forwarded
aged.
to when he was an old man, and then they nominated the makeup for that.
Yeah.
Weird. I think Click is the only movie that Adam Sandler's in where the movie's nominated for an Oscar. I think it's the only one.
What? Like,
No.
what?
Actually, none. And finally, let's just take a look at the SAG Ensemble. Little Miss Sunshine won. Again, we said before that this was kind of the year of the ensemble. You don't have any unnecessary shit in here. You don't have like a Theory of Everything where there were like a couple good performances and then everyone else was okay. Every one of these movies has like a lot of really good performances. I haven't seen Bobby, but from what I know, the cast is just like a bunch of stars and they just had to do it. Maybe Little Children could have gone in there because there's a lot of really good performances in that movie. And here are some films that were nominated for no Oscars. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
When will you win your long-awaited Oscar?